everybody, I'm Leigh, and this is the Spooky Time Club. That's our co-host, or actually, I should say host, Rebecca Frost.
You're pointing in the right way, too.
I know. I practiced all week. All week. I was like, no. Yeah.
No.
So, yeah. All right. Do you have a Spooky Time Club intro for us?
Yeah. Woo. Oh, no, I'm not prepared. It's an open mic night, and the guy will not stop his slam poetry. You've snapped many times, and he doesn't get the gist. Is this your new personal hell? It's the Spooky Time Club.
You said you didn't have anything. That was beautiful.
Thank you.
I lived for this all week. I actually cured my own gout just so I could do this recording today. So that because I live for this. I live
you get that
for
cherry
Spooky
juice?
Time Club. No, I just stared at my foot and said, "It's either you or Spooky Time Club, stupid foot." So,
stop it.
Yeah, just force of will.
I'm also I have to wear my glasses because I have to actually read. So the lights. Yeah. You just gotta deal with it, everybody.
I have new glasses supposedly with a blocker for that. We'll see how well that works.
Oh,
we'll
maybe I should invest in
works. What am I doing with paintbrush? We wonder. Okay.
Pointing.
Yeah.
This week on the Spooky Time Club, I'm just gonna first try to pitch Leigh on the movie The Barbarian. Not even The Barbarian, just Barbarian.
I don't want to watch it.
Try to pitch him on it.
Scared of it.
Without spoiling it. Are you really scared of it?
I don't know. all the cool girls on Twitter that like scary movies really like this movie, so I think I'm going to be afraid of it.
Well, and I would like to, real quick, just at the top here, give a big shout out to a podcast called The Big Picture. Mm-hmm. They put out a podcast episode where they are doing something that we're going to do today, where they just did a whole deep dive into the movie. But they're a lot more eloquent in their descriptions of things. But they also do some really good analysis and discussion. So The Big Picture, wherever podcasts are sold.
Your local Kmart store.
Yeah. I'm just going to talk about Barbarian. And truly, I don't know how to pitch it to you without spoilers first.
Well, you could pitch it with Justin Long.
Yeah. Here's the thing about this movie. So this movie stars, what's her name? Georgina Campbell as the protagonist Tess, and then so essentially, let's see, where to even begin. Stars Georgina Campbell, Bill Skarsgård of It, the Pennywise clown fame, and Justin Long.
Mm-hmm. Justin Long should have won an Academy Award for best performance of boyfriend wondering what the hell's up with his girlfriend in that
Going
Sam Raimi
distance.
movie. No, in Drag Me to Hell.
Drag Me to Hell. Yeah.
Because he did the absolute best. What the hell's going on with my girlfriend? I've ever seen in a 90 Minute Minute.
I like him in horror movies. I think he's a good face for an underdog character. So Barbarian, girl rents an Airbnb. This is all in the trailers, so this is technically not spoilery. Girl rents an Airbnb. Girl arrives to home to find Airbnb has been double booked, and Bill Skarsgård is there, and
he's an evil clown.
And he's an evil clown, if you remember from It. And then they find something spooky in the basement.
See, I hate spooky basement.
This movie, it plays expertly well with leveraging our expectations of not only casting, but horror movie tropes in general. You spend probably 60% of this movie going, no, don't go in there. And they know that. The movie is very well set up to play with these tropes that you've experienced 100 times.
So they're not like the kids in Cabin in the Woods who are just like, let's go to the basement.
No. I'm just gonna get right into the spoiler. Because I truly cannot pitch you on this movie
without spoilers.
Because it's insane. Okay, so
spoiler alert from this point forward.
Heavy spoiler. I'm telling you the whole ass movie. Okay.
Okay.
So movie opens, stormy night. Tess, Georgina Campbell, arrives to this Airbnb that she has booked. And the street, it's pitch black. It's rainy. It's stormy. She's ignoring calls from someone named Marcus, who it's up to us to kind of interpret what's going on there. She goes to unlock the key box to the house, and there's no key. And so she's standing on the porch, middle of the night, raining, and a light turns on in the house. And so she knocks on the door. Bill Skarsgård opens, who you remember is the clown.
Right.
And they have a conversation. It turns out, and they both have receipts to prove it, the house has been double booked. And because she booked through one service, he booked through another. And this house, it's a single family house. So he invites her in while she tries to figure out what to do. She tries to find an available hotel. He says all the hotels are booked due to a convention in town. And so far the movie sets it up very well that you are immediately suspicious of Bill Skarsgård. He's the clown from It.
Right.
You are suspicious of him. He invites her in.
Play with that. That's nice.
He makes her a cup of tea. She doesn't see him make it. And he invites her in and says, you know what, why don't you stay here? I'll take the couch, you take the bedroom. And she's like, oh, I don't know. Any sane woman watching immediately goes, no, hard no. You get in your car and you leave.
Right.
She, however, takes him up on it. She goes into the bathroom, cleans herself up, comes back out, and there's a bottle of wine at the Airbnb that was like left or something. And so he has the bottle of wine out in 2 glasses, and he's trying extremely hard not to come across as creepy because he knows this is a creepy scenario for a woman to be in. So he's like, I noticed you didn't drink the tea. I realized that you didn't see me make it. So I figured we could have this bottle of wine and I would wait to open it with you here so you could see me open it and pour it. And it's kind of cute. He's going out of his way to explain, I'm trying not to come off as creepy because I understand this is a bizarre situation. And so they start talking and they actually start to bond. And he asks her what she's doing in town. And she's there for a job interview. She's interviewing for a research position for a documentary. And he's like, oh, what who's the filmmaker? And she goes, oh, just some, she's this girl. She makes these weird, not weird indie movies, but stuff that people don't normally see. And she describes this movie about jazz musician, a documentary about jazz musicians that this woman has made. And he says that he has seen it, and he's actually describing parts of the movie. And the whole reason is the movie that they're talking about is about musicians in the Detroit area, because this movie takes place in Detroit, and describing.
Oh wow! Because Detroit, I don't know. Have you been to Detroit?
No, but I've heard.
It's the parts of it are really, really run down. Have not seen any renovations since the '60s. That kind of rundown. Wow. Okay.
So, she describes the documentary that this filmmaker has made previously, and it's about jazz musicians who buy up these old buildings and turn them into spaces to create new music and blah, blah, blah. He's like, oh yeah, I'm actually a founding member of one of these groups.
Oh. Huh.
And it's really they start to bond, and the feeling turns from, maybe this guy, maybe there's some potential here. Maybe this is a romance instead of a creepy.
He's not the dread that's calling from inside the house.
He's not the barbarian. And so they go to bed. He gives her the bedroom. He takes the couch, and she goes to sleep. She wakes up in the middle of the night. Oh, and we see her close the door. So we see her close the door to the bedroom. We don't see her lock it. There's a lot of other establishing shots that show her locking doors, to the bathroom and stuff. Mm-hmm. But she very specifically doesn't lock the door to the bedroom. And she wakes up in the middle of the night, door's open. She can see from her bedroom, what's his name? Keith. He's on the bed, or he's on the couch, excuse me. And he's very obviously in the middle of a nightmare. He is twitching. He is kind of whimpering and kind of screaming to himself. She goes to wake him up, and he's like, what the fuck are you doing? And she's like, I'm sorry, you were having a nightmare. My door was open. Did you go on to the bedroom? And he's like, no. And so she's like, okay, whatever. Goes back to the bedroom, shuts the door, locks it, goes back to sleep. Wake up in the morning. And it's a sunny day, bright sunny day. She goes out to she goes to leave. She sees a note from Keith. He's gone for the day with whatever he's doing. And he leaves a note that says, "Hey, I had a really great time tonight. Good luck on your interview. I'll talk to you later." And
What
you're
a
like,
nice guy.
"Okay, very cool. Very cool guy." She leaves the house. And remember just a couple of minutes ago how you were describing parts of Detroit?
Yeah.
Now in the daylight, she can see this neighborhood that she's in. The house that she's in, nice, has been remodeled, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Every other house in the neighborhood is extremely abandoned.
Oh, man.
It is a creepy sight to see. Every house is either like burned down, like missing walls, missing roofs, like just in absolute disrepair. Just absolutely insane. She's like, "Oh, that's weird." And then she goes to her job interview, which she crushes. It's kind of assumed she gets the job when she's talking to the documentarian. And as they're leaving, she asks, "Where are you staying?" And she says, "I'm staying in this one neighborhood." And the woman goes, "Are you serious? You should not stay there." And, gives off the impression of, "Oh, this place is maybe not so good." So she goes back to the house. And as she's getting out of the car to go back into the house, this man comes running down the street at her and is like screaming to get her attention and telling her to like get out. And so she's obviously freaked out, runs up to the door, gets inside the house, beats him inside the house. And he's like out the door like, "You lady." And it's obviously just a very scary scenario. She goes to the bathroom and there's no toilet paper in the bathroom. She's searching everywhere in the bathroom. There's no toilet paper.
That's scary.
Yeah. There was a previous scene where we see a door. I can't remember if it opens or closes, but there's a door behind her that moves in some way. And she goes to the area where that door is and she sees it's stairs that leads to the basement. So I would never do this. This movie has a lot of, "Hey, don't do that," but they do that anyway. And she goes to the basement and sees toilet paper, gets her toilet paper. The door shuts behind her and locks. So she's stuck in this basement. And she's like, "Well, fuck, like this is creepy basement." Yeah. So she's looking for ways to get out. And as she's looking for ways to get out, she sees a rope sticking out of a wall. And so she goes and pulls the rope and the rope opens a door. And so now we have a doorway in front of us, pitch black, don't know what's in there. And, she sets up this really cool this situation. There's a mirror down there, so she angles the mirror in such a way that light reflects from the light down the hall, and it only gets her so far. Also, she has the key to the house, so when Keith returns, he doesn't have a key to get in, and her phone is upstairs too.
Oh,
which is why I never go anywhere without my phone, even anywhere in the house. And she decides to investigate further, which, you're in the audience going, "No, don't do that." And a little bit in this doorway, to the left, there's a room, creepy fluorescent lighting. And in this room, there's a bed, gross, dirty mattress, gross, old camera. And this room looks like something straight out of dark web. Like, it is there's a bloody handprint on the wall. It is extremely obvious terrible things have happened in this room.
Oh, man.
Yeah. And and she gets freaked out, but then she finds another door in this hallway. And when you open this door, there's a long staircase down. And who knows where it goes. But before she chooses to go down that stairway, Keith comes back. And I don't remember how it is that she notices that he's there, but they catch each other in the window of the basement, and they're able to open the window. She gives him the key. He comes inside, lets her out. And she's like, "There's some fucked up shit. Like, we are leaving. I'm leaving. We're leaving." And he does the thing to kind of give you the idea, oh, maybe he is creepy, of what are you talking about? You're not making any sense. I'll go down there. I'll go check it out. This is crazy. And he goes down there, and he's gone for a while. And she tries she's like screaming down the stairs like, Keith, Keith, and he's not responding. She is big brave and goes down the big spooky set of stairs, and we eventually do hear Keith shouting for help, and it sounds like he's very far away. And yeah, so she goes further down there. She finds him, and he climbs, and as she's ow, Maggie, stop. Sorry, my cat is like trying to desperately to get my attention. On her way down these stairs and down this another hallway, there's cages. I think there's like 2 cages, but they look like dog cages. There's like a dog bowl in one of them, but it's creepy town. These are old rusty dog cages. Right. And finally she sees Keith. Oh, and this time she does have her phone. I think she made sure to bring her phone because she has a flashlight somehow. But she finds Keith, and he comes crawling out of the darkness like, help me, like, we have to get out of here. Something bit me. And she's like, what are you talking about? And then out of the darkness, tall, gray, feminine figure comes out of the darkness, grabs him, starts smashing his head against a wall. It is very obvious he does not survive this. And then smash cut to the Pacific Coast Highway, and we see a red Corvette just driving down the Pacific Coast Highway. And you're like, what the fuck is happening now? Because that's very obviously the end of Act 1. So we still have 2 other acts to get to. And so this is where Justin Long comes in. Justin Long, he works in the film industry. I think he's a screenwriter, but he's driving down the coast in his red Corvette singing Ricky Tikki Tavi, and then he gets a phone call. And this phone call is his Me Too moment, because it's his reps or lawyers or somebody, but they're trying to tell him that somebody that he's working with on this show has accused him of rape. Oh. And he is likely going to be dropped from the project. And so the next little bit of the movie follows Justin Long as he's trying to reconcile being Me Too'd, and he's like, oh, if I could just talk to her, and they're like, do not do that. And like, right. He maintains his innocence. His wealth manager drops him because he's going to go bankrupt. Essentially, he's got no income coming in, and he's going to be spending all of his money on lawyers and his house and his bills, and he's probably going to have to sell his rentals. So he goes to Detroit to go stay at one of his rentals, and his lawyer calls and says, why the fuck did you leave the state? Right. And he's like, well, I have to go. He's like, I have to liquidate. And so he's going through the house. He goes out with a friend there's a scene at a bar with his friend, who is Zach Kreger, the writer-director of the movie, in his like M. Night Shyamalan cameo. And he's asking him like what happened, and Justin Long is like what happened was like she took some convincing, and like it is extremely obvious that he's guilty of what he's being accused of. And he goes back to the house, and he like drunkenly like tries to call the woman and like apologize, and like just wants to talk to her.
So just all the stuff you're not supposed to do.
All the stuff you're not supposed to do.
But he's a shitty person.
And so he wants to list the house, and so he is finding out, how to get the most money out of this house, and like square footage is an issue. So he goes downstairs to the basement, and he starts measuring the basement, hoping to get more square footage in his listing. It's the exact same house. I should have prefaced with that. It is the same house. And he gets there, and he sees the car out front. Their stuff is still there. He calls his property management company and is like, there's people's stuff is still here. Like, what the fuck? Is anybody staying here? And they're like, no, we haven't had a booking in months. Oh. So bizarre. And he goes to the basement, measuring tape, tries to measure to get as much, square footage as possible, which I would tell you as a real estate agent, you're not going to get any square footage out of that basement because it has to be livable space. Anyway, finds the rope, finds the door, finds the creepy room, and instead of reacting like a normal human, he goes, more square footage. And you see him whip out his mask, and there's bloody handprint on the wall, creepy, obviously terrible mattress. And he starts just measuring shit, measuring the hallway, finds the extra door, finds the extra set of stairs. gets measuring tape, is measuring out, and he doesn't know this, but he's locked in the basement now because the door is shut. And
but he's just like, oh, I've got 2 stories of basement space to measure.
Yep, exactly. And as he's trying to, measure out all this stuff, he passes a room, and it's a kind of like a purple lit room, but there's a TV with a video playing, and it's breastfeeding instruction video. The room is covered in newspaper. There's another creepy bed thing, and this video is just playing. And as he keeps walking, he falls into a pit in the room. Oh wait, let's see. Hold on. Let's see. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So he falls into a pit. And in this pit, we find Tess, and Tess is like, shut the fuck up. You need to be quiet.
Okay.
Smash cut to the 80s when this house is in its prime. The neighborhood is sleek, very vintagey, like retro looking. It's the 80s. Reagan is president. They set the scene by, having a radio say Reagan, blah, 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 blah. And we see this old man come out of the house. Old man. I say old man. He's probably like late 40s, early 50s. Comes out of the house, gets in his car, drives down the street, and it is a cute street, like very like kind of Stepford Wivesy. Goes to the grocery store, and he is buying baby supplies. He's buying diapers, and the sales lady is like, "Oh, you're gonna need this." Hands him a breastfeeding instruction video. He needs diapers and a tarp, and what was that?
A tarp?
A tarp? Yeah, because they're going to have a home birth.
Ah.
Yeah, and he gets in his car, and as he's in the grocery store parking lot, he sees a woman across the parking lot and watches her load her groceries into her car, gets in her car, drives away. He follows her to her house, parks his car away, goes to his trunk, puts on a jumpsuit that makes it look like he works for the electric company, goes over to her house and says, "Hey, I'm from the electric company, blah, blah, blah. I need to come in and investigate something." And she's like, okay, because it's the 80s, right? And what he does is he goes to the bathroom and unlocks the window and then leaves, says everything is fine, and goes back to his car and leaves. Which, I mean, as a woman, you kind of just know he's going to come back through the bathroom window.
Right.
And he goes back to his house. His neighbor comes out and tells him, hey, we're thinking of selling the house. And so this is kind of like the beginning. It's Reagan, right? So it's just kind of the beginning of the downfall of everything. Right. And he gets to the house, and the house is just like a hoarder house. It looks kind of like a hoarder house, but he goes to open the door to the basement, and you can hear a woman screaming. And he goes down, and and so I leaned over to my friend PJ, and I was like, I think he's the Barbarian. So back to present day. Do you see now why I couldn't tell you anything? Mm-hmm. So back to present day, Tess and Justin Long are in the pit, and she's like, you have to shut the fuck up because you do not want to piss off this monster lady creature. And the monster lady creature comes back, and she's got kind of like a comically large baby bottle, and she holds it down through the grate of the pit that they're trapped in and is like, drink. And Tess is like, if you know it's good for you, like, you'll drink from the bottle. And he's like, no, it's disgusting. And the bottle is filthy. Like it's so gross. Like, thinking about drinking from it, I'm like, God, no, I'd rather die. And so Tess drinks from it because she's a survivor. And AJ, Justin Long, is like, absolutely not. So the monster woman jumps into the pit, grabs him, and through some feat of superheroism strength, takes him out of the pit and just drags him away. And Tess is like, okay, let's see how I can get out of here. I got to figure out a way for me to get out of here. This monster lady has dragged Justin Long back to what we assume is her room, and attempts to breastfeed him. And it is some of the creepiest, cringiest moments of, like, it is very intentionally like, cringe-inducing.
Yeah. Because she's getting her baby.
She's taking care of her baby because she's got the instruction manual. Tess, I can't remember how she gets out. She gets out, and she makes her way back up to the basement. She's at the window. She's like trying to smash her way out the window. And the homeless man that we saw running at her earlier comes to the window. They smash the window, drags her out. And as she's being dragged out, the monster lady is like out the window, like, wah! And you can see she is just gray from never seeing the sun. She's nude. She's huge. She's deformed. Yeah. And so this homeless man tells her, she lives there. She only comes out at night. And I tried to tell you to get out. And Tess is like, we have to go. There's a guy in there. We have to go back and get him. And he's like, no. So she calls the cops. And the cops arrive. And they are looking at her. She looks strung out, right? She's been in a pit for a couple of days. Like, she looks terrible. And she's in this dilapidated neighborhood. Or I'm pretty sure that's what happened. Or no, she gets her way. That's what happens. She gets her way to a gas station. She has to walk, like, oh, who knows how long. But she gets her way to a gas station, borrows the phone. That's right. And tells the police, hey, I've been held hostage for a couple of days. There's this guy there. Like, we got to go. And the cops show up, and, you know, cops are. They're like, sure, lady. So they take her. They go back to the house. They're knocking on the door. Nobody's answering. And she's like, I swear to God, like, go in there. Like, I was just held hostage. They're not believing her. They get another call. They leave. And so Tess, she's like, fine, I will take matters into my own hands. She breaks back into the house, gets her car keys, and goes back to her car. But as she's in the car, the monster lady comes out, and Tess takes her car, drives it into the lady up against the house, and pins the lady between the house, and now her car's not working. And so she has to she gets out of the car, and she's like, okay, well, obviously I've pinned her. I'm going to go back down there and get Justin Long. So she goes back down there to get Justin Long. But while she's been gone, Justin Long has tried to find a way out, and he has found another long hallway. And at the end of this hallway, there's a bell, and the monster lady was chasing him. But once he got to this door at the end of this hall, she was like, oh, okay, bye-bye. So what's on the other side of the fucking door, right? Because, like, if she's scared of it. So he opens the door, and it's this gross room covered in bottles and cans, and he finds an old man in a bed, and there's a TV playing. Finds an old man in a bed, and it's the guy from the 80s, the owner of the home. And he is just, like, bedridden, close to death, bleh, gross, creepy. And as Justin Long is looking around this room, he sees hundreds of VHS tapes, and each one is labeled with woman with Irish accent, Audrey, just various names or descriptors of women that he has obviously kidnapped and raped and probably murdered. And Justin Long is like, what the fuck? Because he puts one in to try to see what this is, and he's like, oh my God, like, this is absolutely insane. And the old man, he's like pointing at something, and he's pointing at something on a table. So Justin Long just drags over the table, and the guy reaches into the drawer of the table and pulls out a gun. And Justin Long is like, okay, whoa, hold on. Like, and the guy winds up shooting himself.
Okay.
So, because, you know. Bleh.
Yeah.
Let's see. I'm trying to remember. Oh, Tess comes back into the house to try to save him, right? He's got a gun now because he took it from the old guy who just shot himself. They're both wandering the dark of this hallway, and Justin Long, frightened when he sees Tess, shoots her in the abdomen. So she's got a bullet wound to the gut, and he's like, fuck, I'm so sorry. And she's like, whatever. So as they get out, he explained, he tells her what he saw, and then the homeless man finds them and takes them to a safe spot, a place, because he lives in this neighborhood too, and so he knows, you know, this woman comes out at night, and he's explaining it to her. He's explaining the whole thing to them. She never comes here. This guy would kidnap and rape girls, and then those girls would have babies, and he would rape the babies, and so this monster lady is not only a victim, but one of probably his granddaughter or something of incestuous production.
So she's kind of that incest wall baby trope.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
And so the homeless guy is very. They make sure to let you know she doesn't come here.
Yeah.
She bashes through the wall. She rips off the homeless guy's arm, beats him to death with it, and starts to chase Justin Long and Tess. And Justin Long, really revealing himself here, abandons Tess and runs back out the way they came. Because she's got a bullet wound and she's limping. Like, he leaves her for dead. They catch up. And they come across a water tower. And Justin Long they go up the water tower, but she's giving chase. She's following them. Yeah. And they get to the top of the water tower, and Justin Long is like, she wants you, and pushes her off the water tower, pushes Tess off the water tower. And then you get this incredible shot of the monster lady diving after her baby, jumping from the water tower. They land in such a way that the monster lady is on the bottom. Tess lands on top of her. So she survives the fall. Justin Long goes back down to be like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Trying to save his own ass essentially and apologizing.
Yeah.
Monster lady not dead. You cannot kill her. She sits right up, grabs Justin Long on the head and puts her thumbs in his eyes and just guts and eyes and like the mountains him essentially, just like basically crushes his skull and he's for dead. And then the monster lady is checking on Tess because Tess is her baby. She even does like a little nose, like a little boop on the nose, as I'm sure she learned from the video. Right. And Tess now has the gun. I can't remember how she got the gun, but Tess has the gun, and there's a little bit of look of remorse on her face, but she shoots the lady, and then she gets her final girl walk to safety as the sun rises. And that's the movie.
So Tess was the barbarian.
Tess was not the barbarian. Tess is the final girl who did nothing wrong except be brave.
So the monster lady's the barbarian.
The
rapist old dude's the barbarian.
The rapist guy is the barbarian, but also Justin Long could be considered a barbarian.
The barbarian is patriarchy.
The barbarian could be a lot of things because there's also a lot of social commentary peppered throughout this movie, stuff about gentrification in this neighborhood, the Me Too movement, right? Just there's a lot peppered that how police treat women and blah, all of that. And I think it's a really but it's a good, he's got a lot of social commentary peppered throughout, but it's not beating you over the head with it. Right. It's there for you to see, but he's not going to use it to drive a message home.
No, like Candyman has a lot of that stuff in it too.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's subtle, but if you're smart enough or read enough, it's all there, right? Mm-hmm. So you pick up on it. You can do a little research and find out a lot of that stuff's actually true. I mean, not necessarily about keeping the incest wall baby in your dilapidated house, but you find out about the ruin of Detroit starting in 1969 during Hell Night, going all the way forward. So yeah, it's okay. So then I think you liked it because I got the impression that you had a good time with it. Even though
like I have said on the podcast and a million other places, this movie is written and directed by Zach Kreger, who got his start on The Whitest Kid You Know. So he's another comedian turned horror auteur, which is a thing I really like to see because I think people who are in comedy can do horror and drama extremely well, and I think he does a really great job. I did really like it. It's one of those movies I just want to talk about it, but like nobody has seen it, so I can't just be talking about it, And as I'm sure you know now, like you can't talk about the meat of the movie, which is everything that happens in Acts 2 and 3, because everything that's marketed is woman in spooky house, spooky basement. Oh no, what happened? And that's it.
Yeah, so there's a lot there that makes perfect sense. So of course there's some sexual assault warnings we'd want to give people if they're sensitive to that. But overall, you'd recommend the movie?
Yeah, totally. Okay. It did really well. I think it made like $10 million this weekend.
Which is great for a horror movie.
Which is great for a horror movie. It had a $5 or $6 million budget, so it's not doing bad.
It's a huge success then.
Yeah, it's wildly successful.
And that's not even on home release yet, so we don't even know what the legs this movie's going to have. So okay, so we'll recommend that. Next week for Spooky Time Club, I have no idea what we're doing. but we'll come up with something, especially considering we're getting into spooky time movie season.
Tis the season.
What was the trailer that came? David Harbour's
Violent Night.
Violent Night. That is one we will definitely be reviewing come December because David Harbour is vengeful, heroic Santa Claus on a killing spree. Sounds amazing. That's my movie. And for those of you who haven't seen his greatest movie yet, it's Frankenstein's Monster Frankenstein on Netflix is one of the greatest things you'll ever see him. Or it's amazing. Okay, it's not, but it's amazing.
It's good. It's good.
I've watched it a dozen times, and I laugh through the whole thing.
Is it your comfort movie?
It's like it's him and everybody in it is just there and acting.
I can only remember Kate Berlant is in there.
Yeah. Doc Ock from Spider-Man.
Alfred Molina.
Alfred Molina is like the spooky boat captain who just comes in and like does his community theater line and then leaves. And it's completely nonsensical. But that has nothing to do with Barbarian. I keep wanting to call it The Barbarian, but it's just Barbarian.
Just Barbarian.
And in theaters now, but if you're a coward like me, wait for home release, which will probably be about a month.
Yeah, it's definitely, sexual assault, content warning, icky, the monster lady, icky. But because it kind of turns into a creature feature in the third act, honestly.
Love a creature feature.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so anyway, thank you everybody for tuning in to the Geek Show Spooky Time Club. I've been Leigh, that has been Rebecca, and anything else we need to say to the folks?
No, just thank you for letting me talk about Barbarian.
I knew you needed to get it out of your system. So
now I can rest.
So I will watch it when it comes to home theater because I can't see scary movies in theaters because I scream too much.
Oh, it's so much fun with an audience, though.
I don't know if you've ever heard me scream when I'm scared.
No.
Oh, it's the funniest damn thing in the world. So I can't. I have the most high pitched scream. It's yeah. Anyway, because it scares people and it startles people too because it's very loud. But yeah. Anyway, thank you so much for tuning in, everybody. Make sure to like and subscribe. We'll be back with next week with more Geek Show Spooky Time Club.
Goodbye.